All right, 8:11 WBCK. It is a Monday morning, and every month or so we check in with Representative Dr. John Bizon, and today is the day. Good morning, Doctor.
Good morning, Richard. So good to be with you this morning.
Thanks for being here. We appreciate that very much. There was a clip in the news today of the governor saying he's optimistic we're getting to this road deal.
I am afraid that I missed that clip. I would still love to see us consider new ideas and not just throw new revenue at it, but approach roads a little differently, because what we've been doing in the past really has not worked well for us. And we already put $3.3 billion in to begin with. We have bonded for roads. I think you and I have talked about that in the past, and I would like to see some fresh ideas, and so I'll be eager to see the package that they are fashioning. Hopefully he'll be able to roll it out here sometime in the near future.
When last we spoke, you mentioned that you'd said to the speaker we ought to just suspend other business and try and get this thing done. Did that fall on deaf ears?
Well, it did not fly by any chance. The business of the House is important, and he wants to continue with the business of the House, and therefore the business will continue. Although, personally, I think that still is the right answer, that the number one consideration in this state at this time are the roads, and let's devote all of our energy, all of our attention to the roads. One of my colleagues came up with the idea of rewarding counties and townships that have their own millage in town by supplementing the dollars that they raise. And some of the roads that I think are the very, very worst are our county and township roads.
Right.
And if we could get more dollars to them outside of the Public Act 151 formula, I think that would be a marvelous way of going. Decreases the amount of dollars that we need to raise in the beginning. And my impression is that there may not be support for that, but I haven't seen the package yet, so I'm talking out of school.
Right.
And I would be very eager to see what it is that the governor and the speaker and the majority leader and the minority leaders have come up with.
So as you left at the end of last week, where did things stand? You knew they were working on it, at least.
Exactly correct. They have been very, very tight-lipped with the press. They have been very, very tight-lipped with us as well. And they say, yes, we have agreed to this framework, and we have been moving forward week after week, but really there haven't been any more details than that forthcoming. I'm hoping that either this week or next week we're going to be able to get many more of the details that have been in discussion, and so that we can say yay or wow. Yeah,
right. Yay or wow. All right, we're talking with Representative Dr. John Bizon. Coming up shortly, we'll pick up where we leave off. 8:16 WBCK, Richard Piet Show, Monday. Representative Dr. John Bizon back with us. Legislative update for the month. And there's been some discussion of a little Battle Creek history going on.
Yes, there is, Richard. This past week, we have introduced legislation to get a license plate for Sojourner Truth. And this is truly a story of community activism. It was Pastor Stein who runs God's Kitchen here in Battle Creek, which incidentally is celebrating its fourth anniversary this afternoon. And Pastor Stein came to me. He is also actively involved with the Sojourner Truth Museum here in Battle Creek, and said, do you think we might be able to get a license plate for Sojourner Truth? And I said, let me float the idea and see where it lands. And so I had a bill drawn up to get a license plate for Sojourner Truth, took it out to the floor, and we already have 21 co-sponsors out of the 110 that we have in the House. 21 of our members, Democratic and Republican, have co-sponsored this license plate. And it shows that Sojourner Truth truly is appreciated more than just in Battle Creek.
Right.
She is a historic figure, and I very much look forward to continuing their support. I imagine that my bill is going to be going off to the Transportation Committee. From there, it'll go to the entire House if it passes. And so there is still a legislative journey in front of it. But no, just the fact that the story itself with Pastor Stein coming and saying, can we do this? The proceeds from the license plate we anticipate are going to be going to the Sojourner Truth Museum.
Nice.
And so, again, this is going to add to the legacy of Battle Creek, of Sojourner Truth, the Underground Railroad, and our place in history.
Yeah. Is that how all these different license plates have come to pass? Do you have to vote on all of them, or is this just special ones that come up in this fashion?
I think all of the special ones come up this way.
I see.
You know, if and unless I'm mistaken, they all of the special ones do go through this process, and there's also a weeding process that if not enough people sign up for the license plate, then eventually that license plate gets dropped. It gets replaced with another plate that's in the queue.
Mm-hmm.
And of course we have the standard Michigan license plate, and that obviously goes through a different process.
Yeah. Boy, do we have choices these days. I remember when we had one plate. You know, you just got your blue and white or your black and white, and that was it.
It used to be that way, but now you get just a whole variety of causes that you can support, and history that you can show, your military history, for instance. And, you know, I think we do, you're right, have lots of choices when it comes to your license plate.
Well, this is nice to hear. 21 co-sponsors right off the bat, probably more before this is done.
I imagine there will be a lot of support for it. There are others who have come up to me and said, I don't want to co-sponsor it, but I will be supportive. And so I am cautiously optimistic at this point.
All right. Very interesting. We're coming back in a minute. We still have plenty to talk about, including medical marijuana, biosimilars, which you've been working on, and this whole Flint water thing is in the news a lot. We'll talk about all of that coming up in just a minute with Dr. John Bizon and WBCK. 822 WBCK, Dr. John Bizon with us. It probably doesn't surprise anybody that you end up involving yourself or becoming involved in issues of a medical nature in your position in Lansing, one of which is medical marijuana, of course. This is something that Michigan is still is now working with, but there's still some ripple effects, are there not?
There are. There is concern about the manufacturing and the control of the marijuana plants, that each caregiver is allowed to have 6 plants, and these plants can be huge. They can grow to 5-6 feet sometimes, and that would yield a significant amount of marijuana in the community. The caregivers can have up to 6 individual clients, and so if each of them can have 6 plants, I think that it is 36 is not the right number. I think that they were allowed up to 72, so either 12 plants.
However that math works.
Exactly correct. And so there was a bill this past week that would put further regulation, and it breaks the chain of production, transportation, the testing, and then the distribution into various categories, and then all of those people would have to be vetted, and all of those people would have to account for the entirety of their marijuana that they are touching. Something that is not terribly dissimilar to the way we distribute alcohol. There were a package of 3 bills that had come out dealing with this. One of the bills I opposed. It was a bill that would have allowed for the production and use of marijuana in cookies and brownies and gummy bears, in
anything you can think of, probably.
Exactly correct. And I still have some concerns with the use of marijuana.
Well, and I was about to ask you, as a doctor, what your thought was about this.
Well, marijuana is, as far as I can tell, not the first, second, third, fourth, or 5th treatment, standard treatment, for any disease process that I know of. And because of that, in many ways, I hate the term medical marijuana, although I have to admit that we have anecdotal evidence that it is terribly helpful in specific instances.
Right.
That when you have failed course after course after course of different medical therapies, then at some point you have to start asking, what are the alternatives? And in some cases, epilepsy, perhaps depression, nausea associated with chemotherapy. There are anecdotal reports that it is extremely helpful. That makes me think that there is probably a place for it. But I've also been out to the Hawthorne Center out in Plymouth, where we institutionalized the psychiatric adolescent patients. And the marijuana documentation among that group has skyrocketed over the last 4 or 5 years. And so, in my mind, another question becomes, what is the effect of marijuana on the developing brain? And does it do bad things in perhaps select individuals that may have some sort of genetic predisposition? And just the fact that marijuana has become such a factor out among our hospitalized psychiatric adolescents that I have to walk away scratching my head saying, I don't know that this is necessarily a good idea to expand the use of marijuana.
Biosimilars. We've talked about this on a number of occasions. It's a bill that you've introduced. It's going to get taken up in committee now.
It has been taken up. Right now we are in an educational process. We have some 21 members of the Health Policy Committee, and they come from all walks of life, and many of them are not familiar with the term biologic medications or biosimilar medications or interchangeable biosimilar medications. And we have introduced a bill that I think makes a lot of sense, where if a biologic that is written for is substituted at the pharmacy for an interchangeable, that at least there is notification back to the physician saying that, wow, we're giving you something just a little bit different. We gave your patient something different. And it just gets stuck into the medical record so that the next time the patient is around and says, I don't think that this medicine is working for me, the physician can go back and say, well, that's not the one I want. Or the patient comes back saying, wow, I feel so much better. And the physician will know that that isn't what I wrote for, but all the better. We're under control. Yeah. And normally those biologics are relatively complex medicines. They are typically very, very large proteins that we are dealing with. And we have something like 17 biosimilar drugs in the pipeline right now. And I really think that this is an area of perhaps the future of medicine, that we have changed the way that we have attacked various disease processes by the use of these medications. Instead of giving people something that just affects inflammation in a joint, or perhaps stimulating the bone marrow, these are medications that might very well alter the body's immune system so that it is more accepting or less accepting of foreign proteins, foreign things that are identified in the body. Every time your immune system comes up against a protein, it has to say, is this one of mine or is this not one of mine?
Interesting, yeah.
And we are working on changing the parameters of what is recognized as being foreign. And so brand new area, lots of promise. Area of MS, again, we have new medications out. Even common things like psoriasis, that is an autoimmune disease. Some of the cancer therapies rely heavily on the biologic medications. And so we're trying to bring down the cost of medicine. This ought to be something that ought to be good.